This is a hesped that I was hoping I would not have to give. Gemara says in Ksuvas, Daf Kuf Daled Amud Aleph, that when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who was the leader of the Jewish people, passed away, the rabbis were davening on his behalf, and they were hoping that he would survive. And one of his Talmidim, Bar Karfafra, went to check, and he saw the Rebbe had passed away. And he made the very powerful statement, Arelim umetzukim achasu ba'aron. The angels and the mortals were holding on to the Aron. They were having a tug of war with the Aron HaKodesh. Natzchu arelim esametzukim. The end was that the angels were victorious over the mortals. Rafal Yisrael Chaim ben Harav Mordechai Aryeh Aleha Shalom was ill for almost 21 years, and it was an enormously long and difficult battle. There was a tremendous tug of war between the Arelim and the Metzukim, between the angels and the mortals. And Leah, who led the troops in an unbelievable fashion, she pulled unbelievably hard, together with her amazing children and a team of unbelievable friends who provided support, and scores and dozens, maybe hundreds of people that recited Tehillim almost around the clock. The Metzukim, the mortals, were able to hold on to the Aron HaKodesh for 21 years. And now, unfortunately, Arelim nitzchu es HaMetzukim. The angels were victorious, and the Aron of our dear friend Harvey Paretzky Olav Hashalom has ascended up to heaven. We're here to show kavod to Harvey, who was the devoted husband to Leah for about 34 years, a wonderful son to his mother, Cicely Paretzky, tremendous father to his adoring children, Adina and Nate, Mordechai and Ruthie, Shoshana, and his wonderful grandchildren, Shmuel, Batya, Avrami, and Rivka. I want to ask Rabbi Kaufman to please recite the Kapitel Tehillim. The Rabbi of Congregation Ohev Emes.
Ashrei Yoish, Asher lo yholach b'atzas v'shayim, u'v'derech chatzayim lo yomod, u'v'moshev leitzim lo yoshav kim b'saras adinai chefzo, u'v'saraso yehageh yamam v'loyla. V'yok eit shasul apal gimoyim, Asher piryo yitain b'ito v'leu lo yibo v'chol asher yaseh yatzliach. L'chein harashayim kim kamoitz asher titfenu ruach. Al kein lo yukumu rishayim b'mishpat v'chatzayim b'adas tzadikim. Ki yedei Adonai derech tzadikim v'derech rishayim teved.
Rabbi Kaufman was a very close family friend. I want to ask Rav Shragi Gross, who was also unbelievably close with the family, to say a Kapitel Tehillim.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binos deshe yarbitzeini, al mei menuchos yenahaleini, nafshi yishovev, yancheini b'maglei tzedek, leman shemo. Gam ki elech, B'gates al Moaves, lo irara ki ata imadi, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neget sorerai, dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, V'shavti b'veis Adonai li'orech yamim.
I want to acknowledge the presence of our Assistant Rabbi, Rav Cyril Malitsky, and the many other distinguished Rabbanim that are here. A very dear and close friend of the family, and their first rabbi in the community, and mentor and advisor and supporter was Rav Eliezer Kamenetsky. And I'd like to ask Rav Eliezer, the Rabbi Emeritus of Congregation O of Emes, I'd like to ask Rav Eliezer to say words of hesped.
In thinking about Harvey's life, I was reminded of the final pasuk in Sefer Tehillim, Kol haneshama tahalel, hallelujah. The Medrash has a statement by Rabbi Levi in the name of Rabbi Chanina. This pasuk is interpreted as follows: Al kol neshima neshima tzorech lekales lakadosh baruch hu. With every breath, one has to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Throughout his life, Harvey's every effort and accomplishment for his family, in his work, for his community, in his Torah study, resulted in a praise for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Harvey fought for his every breath in order to use his every breath l'kales l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One of the Yud Gimel Midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Notza Chesed La'alofim. He remembers deeds of loving kindness. For many generations upon generations to come. One may suggest that the term Notzer is related to the concept of Otzer, a precious treasure which is kept back in order to be dispensed in the future. The friendships, chesed, and prayers that Harvey engendered together with Leah, beyond words, his loving and extremely devoted wife, will Be'ezrat Hashem serve as an otzer, as an abundant resource for his family and all of Klal Yisrael. In the Slichos we declare to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaNeshama Loch v'Haguf Pa'aloch. We are aware that the Neshama is the eternal component, the spark from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Guf too is a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Harvey devoted his physical energy, despite complex, repeated medical issues, to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chusa ala Molech. HaKadosh Baruch Hu now embraces Harvey with Rachamim. Yehi Zichro.
My dear friend Harvey Paretzky had enormous qualities, tremendous midos. If you look on WhatsApp that was set up for Harvey to say Tehillim on his behalf, the accolades, tremendous, and people basically repeat over and over again the same thing in different words, which is a sign of the authenticity. Harvey was consistent, he was strong, he was determined, a fighter, he was kind, devoted, a Talmid Chacham. He studied Daf Yomi, went through almost 2 cycles of Daf Yomi. He was upbeat, modest, understated, humble, Baal Chesed. His first job was working for Soviet Jewry. Then he worked for Highest to settle immigrants for many, many years. He was calm, patient, appreciative, tremendous Hakar Satov, never complained. One of his close friends told me last night that they used to refer to him as Mr. Fine because he always, when we asked him how he was, he would say he was fine. When he was in intense pain, he never complained. He had tremendous emunah. He never questioned why me, in spite of a very prolonged and difficult illness. I want to make 2 comments primarily about Harvey. The first is that Harvey was a tremendous tzaddik. The Rashi says in Chumash, Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim. You know, Yosef is referred to as Yosef HaTzadik, Yosef the Tzaddik. And Rashi says, Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim. Rashi asks, we know that he was in Mitzrayim. Why does the Torah in the beginning of Shmos have to say Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim? Rashi says, L'hodiyachat tzidkasol shel Yosef. It teaches us the righteousness of Yosef. Who Yosef? He was the same Yosef as when he was a shepherd. Who Yosef in Mitzrayim in Asamelch v'omed b'tzidkasol. It was the same Yosef when he was betrayed by his brothers, when he was sold to Mitzrayim, when he became the viceroy. He remained the same Yosef throughout his life, and that's a sign of the authenticity of his qualities. We could say about Harvey that Harvey? He was the same before his illness, after his illness, during the illness. Harvey remained the same person. All the sterling qualities that I mentioned before, they were consistent every day throughout his entire illness. You know, if a person is an athlete and he's, let's say he's running in a race and he's able to win the race, so that's terrific. But let's say he has a handicap and he has a disability, or he's carrying 50 pounds and he's running in the race and he still comes out ahead of the pack. That's even more amazing. Harvey lived his life with an enormous handicap. Every single day for the last 21 years, he had the sword of Damocles hanging over his head, and he went through surgeries and operations and cancers and comas and cardiac arrests and bleeding and who knows what, just unbelievable. One incident after the other. And Harvey ran the marathon like a person carrying not 50 pounds, but like a person carrying an elephant on his back. And he remained throughout, Hu Rifal Yisrael Chaim. He remained the same person throughout, never complaining, never asking why, always facing everything with emunah. He maintained his sense of humor and his pleasant personality, and not focused on himself, but focused on others and devoted to family and friends and showing tremendous Hakar Satov. And throughout, he maintained the same dignity. This illness of cancer oftentimes destroys a person's dignity. And Harvey, with his inner strength and his outstanding superlative qualities, he remained the same as he ran this marathon of his life. The second comment I want to make about Harvey is the incredible relationship that Harvey had with Leah, with his wife Leah, who was his wife for 34 years. Leah was the most unbelievable wife in the world. She was superhuman. I didn't even understand how she managed to do what she did. She was unbelievable advocate. She fought. She wasn't scared of anybody. She fought with hospitals. She fought with doctors. She fought with insurance companies, and if the hospital refused to treat him, so she turned over the world to find other hospitals that would do treatment. It just, you could write 100 books about the way Leah stood by Harvey's side. And no doubt it was Leah that kept Harvey alive these last 21 years. I don't remember how long ago it was. I don't remember the time sequence anymore. But I remember when Harvey was in a coma and I went to the hospital and I gave Leah a ride home then. I mean, he just one thing, over the years, so many things, and Leah was there with Harvey all the time. But it would be an error to think that this was a one-sided relationship. That would be missing the whole point. It was a commensurate relationship. As much as Leah was devoted to Harvey, that's how much Harvey was devoted to Leah. And everything was a team effort. The two of them, unbelievable, magnificent couple. The two of them worked together, each one providing support for the other. Leah told me that the last day of Harvey's life, this past Thursday, he was being wheeled into hospice, laying on the bed. This was a few hours before he passed away. What does he say to Leah? Leah, did you eat lunch yet? And then he didn't trust her. And Leah, the reason why I asked is because Leah hadn't eaten for a few days. And then when he was in the hospice, again, he asked Leah, so did you eat lunch? Just a few hours before he passed away, at 6 p.m., one of the last things that he said, he told Leah how much he loved her. That was Harvey. Such each one's commitment to the other was just the same. Each one matched the other. I was trying to think of an imagery in Chazal that would capture the type of commitment that they shared with each other. And I was thinking about the psukim in Chumash that talk about the kruvim. There were, on top of the Aron, there were two kruvim, two angelic, like golden figures. And the pasuk says, "V'dibarti itcha me'al kaparas mibein shnei kruvim asher al Aron." The Shechina spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu from between the kruvim, from those two kruvim that were on the Aron. So the question is, the Aron contained the luchos. This was the 10 commandments that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Moshe Rabbeinu in his own hand. He carved out the words on the 10 commandments, the luchos. Why was the Shechina talking from the kruvim? Why wasn't the Shechina talking from the center of the Aron, from the Aseres HaDibros? And the kruvim, after all, were human images. Why would the Shechina address itself through human images? And not only that, the Gemara says in Yuma that it was an image of a Zachar and a Nekeva, a male and female, and it represented the relationship between man and woman, which is husband and wife. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses the relationship between husband and wife as a symbol of the relationship that he had with Klal Yisrael. But why is that the place for the Shechina in the Beis HaMikdash to talk to Moshe Rabbeinu when you have the Luchos, Edus Habris in the Aron Kodesh? And the answer is that Yiddishkeit is not about stones, and it's not about buildings, it's not about structures. Yiddishkeit is about relationships. That's what Yehadus is. And there's two essential relationships. Those are the only two relationships. There's a relationship between man and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the relationship between man and woman, between husband and wife. And the relationship between husband and wife, that parallels the relationship between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And holier than the luchos was the kruvim that were on top of the Aron, with their wings outstretched on the Aron, protecting the Aron. And that's Harvey and Leah, were those two kruvim, with their outstretched wings, protecting each other and protecting their children and protecting their family and protecting Klal Yisrael. That was the nature of the relationship between Harvey and Leah throughout their years of marriage together. It's very difficult for me to say goodbye to Harvey. He was a dear friend. The Gemara says in the end of Moed Katan that when you take leave of a person who's alive, you say Lech L'Shalom. You should go to peace, because person, while he's alive, he's still striving to earn his share in Olam Haba. But when a person passes away, you say Lech B'Shalom. You should go in peace, because the person has already earned his chaylik in Olam Haba. We say to Harvey has an enormous Olam Haba. The character of his personality and his midos and the type of life that he lived, and it's just super inspiration, and the relationship that he had with Leah. So his Olam Haba is tremendous, and I say to my dear friend Harvey, Lech b'Shalom, go in peace, and you should be a constant Meilus Yosher for your wonderful family. And now ask Mordechai Paretzky to deliver words of Hesped.
Leila ani bochi ini yordemayim. Kirachov mimani benachmi beishiv nafshi. And as I cry, my eyes dripping water, because comfort is so far from me. In yesterday's Sedra with Moshe Rabbeinu, and the pasuk says, "V'aschanan al Hashem v'esi lemor." Moshe point out that Moshe describes his efforts to obtain his most precious dream, to enter Eretz Yisrael. Moshe davened no less than 515 times, begging HaKadosh Baruch Hu to fulfill his request. And yet, his request was turned down. The yesod we learn from here is not that tefillah is ineffective, but that it is so effective that Hashem ordered Moshe Rabbeinu to stop davening, so that Hashem would not be compelled to go against his will and allow Moshe into Eretz Yisrael Kaviyachol. This is a lesson so fitting for my father's life. The outpouring of davening, of tefillah, of chesed, of limud Torah, and the unbelievable amount of mitzvahs that were done as a zechus for him is totally unfathomable. For almost 21 years, he generated zechuyos as the community rallied around him for one health issue after another. Now that he was taken from us, we have no reason to doubt the effectiveness of the tefillah. It's clear that the only thing keeping him alive against all odds was the mountains of tefillos that were sent on his behalf. It's as if Hashem has asked us and ordered us to stop davening for him, just as he did for Moshe Rabbeinu. I need to express my family's hakaras tov to the community, and especially my father's appreciation for everything that the community has done for us over the many years. I remember walking into this shul in 2003. It was a hill. The doctor had said my father would not live another day. And there was a Tilm gathering right here. The room was, come on, it was entirely filled, just like it is now. He couldn't even stand. I was so overwhelmed by the physical, emotional, and spiritual support that the community had provided. It was such an impressive sight to see hundreds of people taking time out of their busy schedules to daven for him and support our family. My father exemplified the meaning of hakaras tov. Over the years, there were many, many people that crossed his path in all walks of life, but especially in the hospital. He would thank each and every one of them for their service to him. He would thank the people who took out the garbage, the nursing support staff, the nurses, the doctors. It didn't make a difference who they were. One time at Columbia Hospital in New York, one of those men mentioned that in all his years of work, this was the first time that he had ever been thanked by the patient. To my father, the man's service was no different than all the doctors and the nurses who were really caring for him, but each person had their own part. Hours before he was nifter, he thanked all the nurses as we were leaving Hopkins to go to hospice. He thanked all the nurses for what they had done for him. It was difficult for him to breathe, much less to talk, but he felt it was so important to express his hakaras hatov for the care they had given him. That was his life. He lived it until the moment he was nifter. Masai yagia masai, lamasai avosai. Abba, how will we live up to your example? The nurses, the nurses at Hopkins who regularly cared for him, on the last morning came in to say goodbye at the end of their shift before we left. The nurses couldn't stop crying and expressed that they would never forget him and forget our family. He made such an impression on them because of his will to live. It was such a Kiddush Hashem for them to see a family and a person who was so devoted to each other and who valued every second of life. Along the same lines, my father expressed this hakaras hatov to Kadosh Baruch Hu by living with no complaints. He rarely ever complained about constantly being sick or about not feeling well over the many years, over the many hours he spent schlepping to go into hospitals and doctors. He never questioned all the hardships in his life, but accepted them with humility. His attitude was not, why me, but gamzu tova. He focused on the brachos that Hashem had given him, such as his beautiful family, his friends, my mother, and the ability to help others and enjoy life and learn Torah. He was zocha to complete one and almost two cycles of Daf Yomi, only because my mother urged him to do so, no matter how difficult it was. In the hospital and at home, and doctor's appointments. There were times I would beg him to go to sleep. I could see he was going to fall asleep. There was no point to sit at the table and try to learn. He couldn't do it. He had to sit down with the Gemara. We would joke at times that it was like he learned Daf Yomi through osmosis because he so frequently fell asleep over his Gemara. He was so happy that he was able to learn. And when he got sicker, he was disappointed that he was not able to finish his second cycle. I was privileged that I started learning with him from a very young age. I'm sure Rabbi Kamenetsky remembers, and Rabbi Gross remembers. He always insisted on bringing his Gemara to the hospital, whether he had strength to learn or not. He was comforted by knowing that his Gemara was available to him if he felt up to it. Over the years he would learn, but then he would miss a daf here or there, a 10 blot here or there, depending upon what was going on or how sick he was. He had a pile of Gemaras with markings of the skip lot. He desired so much to get back to them. He was so disappointed that he couldn't learn them. Abba, your love for Torah will always be mechayev us to keep striving. He invested his life into helping others. In his work for Nakrek and then Hayas, he insisted in thousands of Yidden in reaching safe shores. He was instrumental in bringing Russian Jews from behind the Iron Curtain, even traveling to Russia and knowing he was being tracked by the KGB. His concern for others was most apparent in how he interacted with his family. He was consistently concerned about my mother. As he was being taken out of the ambulance into hospice, the Rabbi mentioned it was so difficult for him to talk. But he just had to ask my mother if she ate lunch. He was totally devoted to her needs and to her, and she was always on his mind. No person was too insignificant for him. He was friendly to children, even children with special needs, and was the first the volunteer to change a diaper. He had a deep sense of chesed that was quiet but so appreciated by those around him. We will be so lost without his gentle ways and deep concern. He was gentle and sweet, but inside of him was a burning desire to live. He wanted to take care of his family and have more time to do mitzvahs and Torah. This carried him through the hardest times and against all odds. He was so determined to make it through, and with the help of everyone's tefillos, he experienced many, many nisim. When he was diagnosed with metastatic bladder cancer in 2005, a well-known cancer center refused to treat him. They said it was too hopeless, it's not even worth it. His doctors at Columbia gave him less than a 1% chance of survival. He was a walking nace. He was a walking nace, a walking Kiddush Hashem. Anyone knew his medical history couldn't say Modim the same way. The words of Al Nisecho Shebechol Yom Imanu took on a new meaning when I saw him, or when anyone saw him. He was held up by Nisim. He went to doctors who openly admitted, "You are way too complicated. I have no idea what to do with you." With each new medical complications, his doctors were astounded that he prevailed. Over the past 3 months, his teams at Hopkins couldn't believe he was alive to come back. And they would go home for a few days. "You're back again?" They couldn't believe such a thing. They never saw such a thing. The tefillos and the large dose of emunah, the incredible desire to live, were a powerful formula for him. Last, but definitely most importantly, my father was tremendously proud of his family. He was a devoted son, uncle, brother, and brother-in-law. His pride and joy were his children, Adina, Shoshana, and myself. When we were younger, even when he was so sick, he would help us with our homework, edit our reports, and try to fill in his role as father. He exerted himself to go on vacation with us so we could have great memories as a family and strengthen our relationship with him. He loved us so much and took pride in our every accomplishment. Last summer, our family went to Yellowstone National Park. And despite the elevation of the park and how he was feeling and it was difficulty for him to breathe, he pushed himself to do as much as he could so we could spend some time together. It meant so much to us that we were able to spend quality time together in such a magnificent place of Kadosh Baruch Hu's. And when my wife Ruthie and Adina's husband Nate joined the family, he and my mother were accepted them into the family as children, not as a son-in-law and daughter-in-law. He always talked about what a good mother my wife was to his 4 grandchildren. My father would learn with Nate every Motzi Shabbos and took such pride in reading Nate's weekly Divrei Torah at the table. A few weeks ago, he was hardly feeling well enough to come to the table for the Shabbos Suda. He insisted on reading Nate's Dvar Torah instead of one of us. And then there were my children, Shmuel, Vaya, Rami, and Rivka. It brought him such deep joy. He enjoyed every stage of their development. He loved holding them as babies. When Rivka was a baby, she went through a stage where she was terrified of all men. But somehow her Zadie charmed her. and was allowed to hold her. And when Baya was a year old, one of her first words was Zaydze, Zaydi. As they got older, he got such nachas from their milestones, such as chumash plays and birthdays. He played endless games of chess with Shmuel and Avrami. He would patiently explain strategy and shep nachas from their growth in the game. And he loved when Shmuel would give Divrei Torah at the Shabbos table. In his last few days, I showed him a picture of Shmuel and me learning together. It brought such a big smile to his face. There are no words to express the admiration and love my father had for my mother. He attributed his life to my mother because she was so relentless in finding the best doctors and treatments for him. It didn't make a difference where it was in the country. She would fly all over. She was known among Abba's doctors for being a polite but a fierce advocate for him. Incredibly, she had the cell phone number of many doctors, which is basically unheard of. Over the years, my mother's devotion to my father was absolutely beautiful and completely unfathomable to the medical staff. The nurses would ask her, "Don't you ever go home?" And she would say no. Only my father knew the extent of her sacrifices for his sake, and he did everything he could to show his appreciation. The love my parents had for each other was the bedrock of their incredible devotion to each other. There were times when it was palpable. They cared so much for each other. On behalf of myself and our entire family, I want to thank my mother for devoting her life to caring for my father in the most amazing way. I'm being his Ezer Kenegdo for 34 years. My father experienced many hardships in life, yet he accomplished so much. He gave over so many lessons in his 61 years, and although he is gone, his legacy will not be forgotten. The lessons he embodied will stay with us, our children, and the entire community. Will continue to be an inspiration for us all, and let's Yosher on our behalf.
Rabbi couple Paretzky, Mordechai, Harvey's cousin.
I have to begin by asking Mechila from the Nifta. I am not Roy to be maspid, such a person. The Rav said he was a tzaddik. We heard. He was not a Balnes, he was a Balnisim Harvey. And he was a Meduka B'Yisurim. A Meduka B'Yisurim for Shonim Rabbis. So many years.
I don't hear you.
This one?
This is live.
I'm sorry. He was a Meduka B'Yisurim for so many years. He goes now to the Olam HaEmes, Noki, clean. I am klal not roy to be masked with such a person. But the family asked me, it's hard to refuse. Harvey, as we've heard, was beloved by all. Ohuv al Kulam. Witness the size of the crowd here. It's a Sunday morning in the middle of the summer. So many, as has been pointed out, so many people said Tehillim, learned Mishnayos, accepted upon themselves various Kabbalahs, more than regular, much more than the usual. One of my children told me that she saw, I think on the computer, I have no access to these things, that there were 400 people, I think she told me, saying Tillim. It's just not usual. He was Ohuv Lemato. But more important, he was Ohuv Lemaylo. He was beloved in Shomayim. Yesterday's Paretzky Funeral says, Kol sheruach habriyas noichem menu, ruach hamokim noichem menu. If people are pleased with him, then Hashem is pleased with him. Rashi and the Rav say, Kol mi she'ohuv lemato, ohuv lemalo. Anybody who is beloved below, here on our world, is beloved lemaylo, in Shomayim. Other Meforshim add that Kol sheruach habriyas nochem menu. We don't mean listen to what people are saying about somebody. People can praise somebody and not mean it. There are reasons for praising people sometimes. You're afraid of the person. It's politically correct. You need a favor. The Mishnah is telling us, Kol sheruach v'chefetz lev habriyas. Bekirbom, all that the ruach of people, the inside of people, is noiche from somebody. And that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Beichen Libes V'Kloyes, knows. Kol sheruach habriyas nochem menu. Those, such a person who is pleasing to people inside, is pleasing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no politically correct reason for 400 people to be saying Tillim or make Kabbalahs. This is Ruach HaBriyas Noichem Men. It's Ruach HaMokim Noichem Men. He's Ov L'mayla. But there is more to this point. And this I would give a Hagdom. This is a very difficult concept. I'm not beginning to explain it, not to understand it. But I know what the Svarim tell us. We would think that he was Ohuv here Lamato. So now when he goes Lamalo, he's Ohuv. That's true. But there's more. He was Ohuv here at the time of the Yisurim. A very difficult concept. It goes to the fundamentals of our emunah. Not here is the place to talk about it even, but the Pasuk in Mishlei says, Yes, Hashayav Hashem Yochiach. Uchov es bein yirtzeh. The one that Hashem loves, he admonishes. As a father, lebein yirtzeh, Rabbeinu Yeina Sha'ar Tshuva explains that means as a father to a son that he loves. Ke'ov as bein yirtzeh. The father admonishes the son that he loves. He does not admonish the children that he has already given up on. And he knows, it won't help. Es asher ayev Hashem yochiach uchaov es bein yirtzeh. Again, a very difficult concept. It's bechlal not for our understanding. But as I state in what's on our Kairos, he understood it. As we've heard, there were no complaints. There was no why me. Certainly would have been understood, understandable, what he lived through. He saw the Yad Hashem and he accepted it. Complete emunah. More than emunah. Emunah, we can sometimes get lost in philosophy. People tend to get lost in philosophy. Chazon Ish tells us, bitochen is emunah lemaisa, practical emunah. Emunah in the trenches, that's bitochen. Harvey, and of course Leah with him, it's hard for me even to separate them. In our house and by our children, how's Harvey and Leah? It was never, how's Harvey and Leah? What's new by Harvey and Leah? So you have a unit. I'll come back to that soon. He, together with Leah, towers of strength, phenomenal strength, ununderstandable strength, accepted the Yisurim bi'ahava, as a Jew should. Easy words to say, how many can live up to that? But Harvey hears me. Shach brings in your day. The left that has paid him, he hears. I'll tell you a story about someone in our family, your family, my family, same relationship. I don't know if anybody knows this story. I'm not sure my sister or brothers know it. We had a beloved uncle, a brother to my father and your father, Uncle Yankel, Zechreina Livro. He died young. He had lung cancer. He died in 1958. If my numbers are right, you were probably a little baby when he died. I was a little boy, but you were probably a little baby then. My father and your father, Zechreina Livrocha, tore the world apart to do what they could. He was not married. They were the family. There was pitifully little to do in 1958 for lung cancer. Pitifully little. As I saw him wither away, he died early on a Sunday morning. That Motzoi Shabbos, my parents went to visit him in the hospital. They left. He was doing a little better. It looked like a turn for the good, and he felt a little better. They left feeling good. By the time they got home to the Bronx, I think an hour later, the call came from the hospital that he was no longer here. My mother told me that the last words he said to her as she left the room was, he spoke Yiddish, "Man darf uns bekabel sein wie Havo." Could well be the last words he spoke on this world. We have to accept it with love. Harvey and Leah, you did it to the nth degree. Harvey, again, together with Leah, were our Rebbeim. We need teachers. A door that runs without Rebbeim. We need Rebbeim. You were our Rebbeim in Emunah and Betochen. Not to believe, koychom, the strength, ugvurosam, their gvura, I don't know how you say exactly. Every time I left them, I left mechuzik. Bosi lach azeik, when him say si mechuzik. I came to strengthen them. I walked out strengthened. My whole family, my children, everyone we gave it over to. We all learned heavy shurim in emun and bitochen. About 5 years ago, I think it's about 5 years ago. Yeah, it was summertime, 5 years ago, summertime. Harvey and Leah made in their home a Suda Sodo. Rabbi Kamenetsky spoke, if you remember. They asked me to speak. I said then that the Paretzkys of Muncie and their extended families stand in awe of the Paretzkys of Highland Park. The geography has changed. We have become the Paretzkys of Lakewood. They became the Paretzkys of Silver Spring. The sentiment did not change. The sentiment grew exponentially. The Paretzkys of Lakewood and their extended families, be it in Muncie, Toronto, Baltimore, Yerushalayim, stand in awe of the Paretzkys of Silver Springs. Harvey, together with the whole family, but especially, was Mekadesh Shem Shomayim, it's been mentioned, with his strong will to live. Something that is not popular today. As we've heard, seems to be in style today. When a person gets to a certain point, they need the bed. And the bed becomes more important than the person. His strong will to live was keneged azerem, as they say, against the flow, against the stream, against the advice of doctors, against the advice of social workers. As Mordechai told us not long ago, besides all that they had to take care of, all the medical issues and decisions that had to be made, Keseder, they had to wage an emotional battle. Leah just told us on Tuesday, Baruch Hashem, she missed the social worker. Should have gotten another bombardment of what they call ethics. The family stood firm with Jewish values, the value of life. He himself fought tenaciously for life. But he fought the Jewish way. He fought with emunah. He fought with betochen. He fought knowing that he was not really the fighter, that something else, something much bigger, was running the show. That's how a Yid has to fight. I mentioned by my mother's levaya not long ago that I heard a shmuz, a recording of a shmuz of Rav Shach, Zechena Levrocha. If I'm not mistaken, it was his last shmuz. He was over 100 years old. You hear him there saying, Emuno, mit do sein in mir Eden. Emuno. With this, we are Jews. Harvey knew the value of Chayei Shor. Concept Bechlal doesn't exist today. They're busy with the long run and the statistics and the actuarial cheshbenos. Chayei Shor. A minute, a second of life is of immense value. Every minute of life utilizes, Mordechai basically said, for doing mitzvahs, for doing the Ritzayin Hashem. Another minute of believing in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't know what the schar that's involved there. We don't know. The Mishnah Nova says, be careful with a light mitzvah, just like a heavy mitzvah. Because you don't know the reward for the mitzvahs. Simply we understand, careful with the light mitzvahs, quote unquote, because the light mitzvah might have a big schar, and what you think is a big mitzvah has a small schar, who knows? Rabbeinu Yonah tells us here a deeper idea. He says that the Rebbe, the Tana here, Nosan tam ladova chozok ma'od. He gives a very strong reason why a person should be zohir, careful, in a mitzvah kal, just like in a mitzvah chamura. Sheinato yadeya matan schor shel mitzvahs. You don't know the schar of mitzvahs. You have no idea how great the schar is for a mitzvah. Afilu hi mitzvah kalo. Even if it's a light mitzvah, easy mitzvah, what we think is a kleinigkeit. Schora gavoya ad me'oid. Its schar is gavoa, high, ad me'oid. Past our concept. As the Goyen tells us, chamitzvah al maleka, there's no currency to pay for a mitzvah in this world. No currency. It has to be paid there. Be careful. Be careful not to lose that great revach. Tuesday night we were there. He was in and out, but when he spoke, he was clear. He definitely knew what we were talking about. He responded to us. He asked that I say Tehillim with him. Do we know what a capital Tehillim is? I dare say we don't. I asked him if he wants to say Kriyat Shema. He knew where I was going. And he said yes. We said Shema, Baruch Shem, after the first parak. He said it after me. And then I asked him if he wants to be Makabel al Malchus Shamayim. And he knew what I meant. And he said yes. And we were Makabel together al Malchus Shamayim. The last words I heard from him, he said goodbye later, he smiled, he knew we were leaving, but didn't say anything to us then. The last words I heard were, Hashem hu Elokim. He well understood the value of Chayei Shor, of another minute of life. Not such an easy thing, believe me, not such an easy thing. to retain your beliefs on a thing like that, surrounded by a world. You're in their world, don't forget. You're not in your living room, you're in their hospital. You're surrounded and bombarded. By Deus Kaisers, what can I say? A tremendous Kiddush Hashem, besides all the schuyas that were mentioned. A tremendous Kiddush Hashem. Showing what our way is. He didn't write an article about it. He didn't write a thesis about it. He lived it. He taught them, and he taught us how to live as a Jew. And tragically, how to die as a Jew. Chazal tell us in the Midrashim that parents, when they name a child, have a certain Ruach HaKodesh, some places call it, when they name the child. The name that's given to a child, it's not coincidental. There's something there that becomes the person. The Gemara calls it Shmo Kogorim. The name causes it to happen. A name is not just a name. We respectfully disagree with Shakespeare. A rose by any other name is not a rose. Perhaps I am far from delving into the esoteric and mystical parts of Judaism, but perhaps the Ruach HaKodesh of his name, Yisrael Chayim, was meant us. A Jew and life. Jewish life. Life as a Jew. Because he taught us through his life, and Nebuch tragically through his death, how to live Chaim Shel Yisrael. I can't not mention Leah. We've mentioned her. Everybody's mentioned her. I told you in our house that Harvey and Leah, that was it. A pillar of strength. I don't have the words. I'm not such an eloquent speaker. I don't have the words. Devotion and dedication beyond all description, just beyond everything. After you finish how much you can understand about devotion and dedication, after that starts the dedication and devotion of Leah Paretzky. I don't have the words for it. As he grew with the Yisurim, which is the true purpose of Yisurim, and Rabbeinu Yonah happens to say in Sharet Tshuva Shabbeis, again, a difficult idea. I'm not saying it's not difficult, but we live at what our Rabbonim told us. That a person who accepts properly Yisurim, as he did, Roi lo sheyismach b'Yisurim, he should be happy with the Yisurim. Again, we're talking very high. Shehoiluhu to'alos nisgovos. Those Yisurim served for him sublime benefits. Again, I don't understand, nor can I explain, certainly not. But Rabbeinu Yonah says there are to'alos nisgovos in the Yisurim. As he grew with them, Leah grew along. You'll ask me, but she didn't suffer the Yisurim. But she did. But she did. We know that. Gemara says, Eino ish meis ela lishtoi. Man dies only for his wife. They explained it to mean the tsar the wife feels, nobody can feel. That tsar of the broken heart can be felt only by the broken heart. Because that's their one, they're one. And if they are one, then as he suffered, she suffered. On Tuesday night, when we were leaving the hospital, it was about late, it was already 10:15, we had to get back home. Leah walked us out. What point actually was under discussion is really irrelevant right now, but she said, I only want to do what's right. That statement alone puts you in a pretty select class. I haven't heard it from all that many people, let's be honest. My wife, we were together, we were leaving, my wife said to her, that's why you are where you are. They together built a Jewish home. I am as a Jewish home. Mutual respect, as we've heard, love and devotion. That's why you were zoicha together with Harvey to raise your children as you did. I am sure that my beloved Uncle Martin, Zechain Levrocha, is proud of your children. I knew him well. And I'll add one more thing. This is where we go to conjecture, but all conjecture has value. I have a feeling that our grandparents, who none of us knew, I am named for my grandfather, as was your brother. My sister's named for my grandmother. I never knew them. I am pretty sure that they are proud of your homes. I didn't know them, but I knew of them a little, to my father, to your father, uncle, obviously. They were people who typified what I understand to be an almost extinct form of Judaism. The Yadus Apshuta v'Hatmimo of Lithuania and Lithuanian Poland. I'm pretty sure they are proud of what's going on. Harvey's yard site is Tu B'Ov. Tu B'Ov, the mission and the Tainus tells us, not getting into all the details there, Tu B'Ov was a day on which shidduchim were made. At the first shidduch meeting, I guess what you would call it over there. Whatever it is, the Mishnah records that shidduchim were finalized on Tu B'Ov. Can I say it's a fitting day, and if it's ever a fitting day to have a yard site, no, we'd rather not have the yard site. But we do not write the script. It is interesting to note, let's put it that way, that a man who, together with his wife, built a real Jewish home should have his yard site on the day in which Jewish homes were started. However, you are being referred to there as Rifol Yisrael Chaim, Ben Arav Ramat Chaya Leib. You go now there as a korban. Another word, a korban oila. About Yisurim Nifloim. Korban oila for all of Klal Yisrael. You're meeting now or soon, I don't know exactly the schedule up there. Your father, Zechina Levrocha, our beloved Uncle Motl, also a korban. And you're meeting your brother, Olav Sholem, who carried the same name that I carry, our grandfather's name, also a korban. Go together to the Kisei HaKoved. Three korban oilos. Go. Pray, beseech. You don't know the kaiches you have up there. Maybe now then they'll let you know the value of all those years of Yisur. Bet ois, as we say in Yiddish. Plead at the Kisei HaKoved. Plead, of course, first for your wife. She should have the strength. She should have the strength to continue to lead the mishpacha. Pray for your children, for the whole family, for all your friends in the community, for all of Klal Yisrael. Sheyayim al etzarosenu dai. In Yisrael, in Chutz La'aretz. I'm ending. We said the yard site was Tu B'Av. Tu B'Av was also the day Shekolu Bo Meisei Midbar. Daven by the Kisei HaKoved that we should see Bias Moshiach Tzidkeinu, and the day that all of Misa will be kol, and we'll realize the Nevuah of Yeshaya, Bilan Avos Lo Netzach, Umoch Adonai Limdimo Me'al Kol Ponim, V'cherpas Amo Yosir Me'al Kol Paretzky Adonai Diber, Te'nafshu Tzurah B'tzorachai.
Rabbi Nate Miller, who's Harvey's very, very close son-in-law.
As Mordechai said, my father-in-law and I would learn essentially every week. And I think it's worth noting in the very beginning that whenever we would learn, it was short, it was sweet, but we were focused the whole time. And I think this hesped should be the same thing. It's a quarter of a page. It was half and I whittled it down because I think that's what Abba would want. To remain focused as we would learn every Motzei Shabbos. We didn't balta, we didn't shmooze. We had other times for schmoozing. But when we learned and we were focused. There's been a Gemara that's bothered me for quite some time. And the Shabbos when I was davening next to Mordechai, someone put the idea into my mind. The Gemara in Tanis, the Mishnah in Tanis explains, on Tu B'Av, it was the greatest Yom Tov of the entire year. That and Yom Kippur. Seems strange. A week ago, I don't know how many people felt that it was the best Yom Tov, the happiest day. I've always been bothered by that Mishnah at the very end of Tanis. Why is Tu B'Av? Shidduchim is great. That makes it the greatest Yom Tov of the entire year, on par with Yom Kippur, nothing else. The idea that came to mind, the Gemara in Baba Basra explains, Kuf Chof Aleph, what else happened on Tu B'Av? What else happened on this day? Besides for the marriages that would work out, the couples that came together. This happiest day of the year was also the day that the people that died on Beitar were able to get buried. It's not necessarily something you would say, this is the greatest holiday ever. It's a comfort. Maybe top 10. The best Yom Tov of the whole year. The Gemara Baba Basra continues, not just that. That wasn't the only thing that happened. The people in the desert, the people in the Midbar, in the wilderness, all the men that died, for the 40 years, they stopped dying. And I ask you, that's a Yom Tov? It's a good thing, absolutely. But that's the greatest Yom Tov of the entire year? You can imagine, we're talking about Pesach, Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, the top 10 that you can imagine. Tu B'Av, I wouldn't think is number 1 on that list, with Yom Kippur. And the idea that came to mind, perhaps, you could see the Gemara, all these different ideas are threaded together in one concept that personified my Abba through and through. And I was going to say a story, just fill in the story with anything that you hear here or anything that you know yourselves, because every memory that we have is this concept through this line. Perhaps you could say that the reason why this is such an incredible Yom Tov, Tu B'Av, was because after devastation, 3 weeks, 9 days, the week before Tisha B'Av, and you read during the Kinnos, all the things that happened, the devastation, the destruction, the death and the tragedies that happened to our nation for thousands of years. And then Tu B'Av happens. It's not just a cessation, not just an ending of the tragedies, of the pain, of the discomfort. It's picking up the pieces and moving forward. It's saying, I don't know why the Almighty gave this to me, but He has a lesson for me. I'll take what I can, and I'm moving forward. Think about Beitar, all the people that died, and we were able to bury them. A momentous, joyous occasion. It was a moment in time when people were mourning and they said, now we can move forward. We can finally bury our loved ones and pick up the pieces and move forward. Perhaps it was appropriate that my Abba finished his mission in this world on Tu B'Av, on this greatest of holidays, when he finished his mission, showing all of us that even if it's uncomfortable, and even if it's painful, and it's difficult, and perhaps at times impossible, you pick up the pieces and you move forward. You take your Sefer with you. You take your Gemara for Daf Yomi with you. Whatever it is that you are able to do, we all know our own things that we have, our difficult things, our uncomfortable things. Whether it's starting up a Seder during lunch break, whether it's coming back for a night Seder, whether it's just calling somebody once a week for partners, we all have something that's uncomfortable or painful or difficult. We should take the page from my father-in-law, the page from this Tu B'Av that makes it such an incredible Yom Tov. When after the darkness strikes, when after it's difficult, after the destruction and the tragedies of everything that happens in the month of Av, we stand back up and on Tu B'Av we say, Hashem, we're going to take a lesson and we're going to move forward. And each one of us has our own thing which is hard. Each one of us has our own thing which is difficult. And with our collective reaching within ourselves and seeing, you know what, I'm going to do this on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, whatever it is, just something which is hard and difficult. Because that's what my father-in-law would do. And that perhaps is Tu B'Av. After the disasters, after the pain of everything in Av, we say, I'm going to pick myself up. I'm going to do what I can. It doesn't have to be incredible. It could just be a 15, 20-minute Seder on Motzei Shabbos with my son-in-law. But no matter how painful it is, I'm going to do it. And no matter how difficult the Daf Yomi is, I'm going to bring that Gemara. Because that's what Abba did. And we all have our things that we can do. And in the merit of all of us, on our levels, taking on something, on a daily, weekly, whatever it is, whatever we are able to reach beyond our comfort zone and say, for my father-in-law, I'm going to be a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm going to start this thing, a Seder, a phone call. We all have our things. In that merit, may it be a tremendous schus for my father-in-law, Rafal Yisrael Chaim, Rabbi Mordechai Ari.
Okay, the final speaker will be John Kaplan. John and his brother Josh learned with Harvey for many, many years, and John will say words of hesped.
The Gemara Bava Metzia, Daf Pei Daled Amud Aleph, says that the great Amora Rabbi Yochanan and his brother-in-law Reish Lakish were studying in the Beit Medrash one day. In the midst of an in-depth Talmudic discussion, Rabbi Yochanan made an offhanded reference to Reish Lakish's ignoble past. It resulted in a major falling out between the two. Shortly thereafter, Reish Lakish became ill and passed away. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Yochanan grieved bitterly and was unable to be comforted. Feeling the immense pain of no longer having his chavrusa, Rabbi Yochanan cried out, "Where are you, Bar Lakisha? Where are you, Bar Lakisha?" For many of us who have learned with Harvey over the years, we cry out today, "Where are you, Rabbi Yisrael Chaim? Where are you?" How can we possibly overcome this devastating loss? I'm honored to speak on behalf of those who have learned with Harvey over the years. Harvey was my chavrusa muvhak, the person with whom I've studied more Torah than anyone else by far. For over 20 years, Harvey, my brother Josh, and I studied Maseches Bava Metzia on Shabbos afternoons. We began learning together even before Harvey was first diagnosed. Harvey was the anchor of our group. When the sugyas became difficult to understand, Harvey was the first to parse the depth and nuances of the Talmudic discussion and then explain to us in layman's terms. Our friendship grew through our learning, and our learning grew through our friendship. In Parshat Shemot, the Torah describes the reaction of the children of Israel to their enslavement by the Egyptians. V'chasher ya'anu oso ken yirbeh v'chein yifrotz. And as the nation of Israel was afflicted, so did it increase and so did it spread forth. That could aptly describe Harvey's response to his afflictions. The greater the physical challenges, the more intense was his study of Torah. When I joined the Daf Yomi cycle in early 2005, I informed Harvey that we would have to meet an hour earlier on Shabbos so that I can attend the Daf Yomi Shir here at OT. While Harvey initially gently teased me about it, he soon decided that if you can't beat him, join him. And so despite increasing physical limitations, Harvey began to study Daf Yomi and joined the Or Torah group led by Yossi Strauch. I was personally thrilled when Harvey completed his Daf Yomi cycle several years ago. Harvey increased his learning even more and immersed himself in the study of Tanakh with Greg Shalom, Jerry Parnas, and Arnie Konigson between Mincha and Mariv on Shabbos afternoons. Harvey became the Iron Man of Torah study in our community. No doubt that the increased Torah study provided him with the power to fight for his life for so many years. And that fight was well worth it for all of us because of what he meant to all of us. We were all strengthened by his example of dignity in the face of extreme suffering and formidable odds. He fought, and we fought alongside with him through our tefillos, tzedakah, learning, good deeds. So many wonderful acts that were performed for so many years. On a very personal note, I would like to address the Paretzky family, Leah, Mordechai, Adina, Shoshana. I would like to tell you how privileged and inspired I am to have witnessed your extraordinary love and care for the patriarch of your family. My brother Josh mentioned to me on Friday that I would be remiss if I did not mention the fourth member of our learning group, and that was you, Leah. Leah, you were diligent about making arrangements and ensuring that the learning continued. Not only that, during our shiurim, you sat in the living room nearby and made sure Harvey's every need was attended to. You told me on one or more occasions that Harvey was adamant that we must continue coming to your house to learn on Shabbos. I believe you told me that Harvey considered his learning as critical to his fight to live on. You are, and will always be, the paradigm of a true Eishes Chayil. Last Sunday, Leah gave Lori, Josh, and myself the opportunity to spend one last afternoon with our dear Chavrusa and friend Harvey. As it was Tisha B'Av, we learned the sugya from Maseches Gittin regarding the destruction of the Second Temple. It was a most precious opportunity. Perhaps it was a symbolic curtain call for a man who taught us all how to live a fulsome and meaningful life, even in the throes of despair. As we were getting ready to leave, we removed our surgical masks and gloves, snapped a few pictures, and we gently held each other. I spontaneously kissed Harvey on the head and whispered to him the words that came so naturally, "I love you." In retrospect, the kiss on the head was symbolic of my deep appreciation of the profound wisdom that I received from his precious head. Harvey, I hope that you finally have the peace that you so well deserve as you ascend into the heavens. I have no doubt that Hashem is now cradling you in his arms and giving you a hearty Yishar Kochacha, not only for your diligent study of Torah, but for the wonderful husband, son, father, grandfather, brother, and friend that you were and that you will always be. It is customary that when one completes the study of a tractate of Gemara, one does not say goodbye, it's been a pleasure. One recites the words Hadron Alach, which means we shall return to you. We say the words Hadron Alach 3 times. We pay tribute to the Torah and thank Hashem for the opportunity to study and understand his Torah. We also express our aspiration to once again return to the study of that very same tractate, God willing, sometime in the future. Just before Harvey relocated to Silver Spring, we completed our study of Maseches Bava Metzia, and we made a siyum. Harvey recited the Hadron. And now we say to you, Harvey, while we hope to recover from this profound loss and merit long and meaningful lives in this world, we also look forward to the final redemption in the world to come, and our fervent hope to return to you. Hadron Alach, Harvey Paretzky. Hadron Alach, Harvey Paretzky. Hadron Alach, Harvey Paretzky.
Please rise for the Kelmali. Josh.
El Molei Rachamim, Shochein Bamaromim, Hamatzei Menucha Nachona, Al Kanfei HaShechina, B'ma'alos Kedoshim Utorim Kizoar Harakia Mazhirim, Es Nishmas, Rafael Yisrael Chaim, Ben Rab Mordechai Aryeh, Shehalach Le'olamo, Bavur Shemishpachto Titen Stoko Biad Haskaras Nishmaso, Began Eden Tehei Menuchaso, Lochein Malarachamim Yastirehu B'Seir Sheknopav Liolamim Yitzror HaChayim Es Nishmaso Adonai Hu Nachaloso V'Yanuach B'Shalom HaMishkavo V'Nomar Amen.
The interment will be in Washington Cemetery in South Brunswick. We'll escort the Aron for a short while outside. The family will be sitting Shiva at the Prupus home until Wednesday, 10 a.m. That's 30 Edgemont Road, down the block in Edison. Shabbos will be at 7:10, Mincha will be at 7:35 p.m. After that, Leah, Mordechai, and Shoshana will travel to Chicago, where they'll sit Shiva at 3605 Davie Street in Skokie, and Adina will be sitting Shiva at her home in Baltimore, 2807 Damascus Court.